All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Wards 2 and 3 Neighborhood Planning Assembly meeting. I'm Roxanne Muse. I'm on the steering committee, and I'll be facilitating this meeting. So our first order of business is to introduce the steering committee members. Tonight we have me, we have Molly, we have Shelby and Jess, who are both in the kitchen. We have Erica, and Charlie is right there. And I think that's all we have here tonight from the steering committee. All right. And we just want to say we are always welcoming steering committee members, especially Ward 2 is where we need more from, but also after redistricting, it'll be this kind of generally more downtown folks. So if you're interested, let one of us know. You can always make a request for what we talk about here. You can do that online at the city's website, CEDO's website. You can email us. You can talk to us, whatever you'd like. Our next meeting is Thursday, June 8th. Our meetings are always the second Thursday of every month, right here usually. And we have a lot of ways to stay connected with us. We have a website, we're on Instagram and Facebook, sort of, and YouTube, CCTV's webpage, and our email address as well. So one thing we've been starting to do at these meetings to create a little more community is to go around and introduce ourselves. You don't have to say much, just name your ward, and yeah, that's about it. Feel free to tell us a little more. So we're just gonna go around the room, and Charlie is starting out with the mic.
Hey, I'm Shelby Glass. I'm in Ward 2, and I live on Manhattan Drive. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Hi, my name is Christopher. We live on Manhattan in LaFountain.
What's your name?
Bennett. Una.
I'm Mark. Oh, that works. Thank you.
And I live on Wall Street.
Hi, my name is Jimmy. I'm in Ward 2.
Hi, I'm Josie. I live in Ward 2 on North Winooski Avenue.
Hi, I'm Madeline, and I live on Murray Street, right next door.
Hi, everybody. I'm Molly. I live on LaFountain Street, and I'm on the steering committee.
Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm here to present tonight. I live 100 feet from Ward 2 and 500 feet from Ward 3, but not in either one.
I'm Jacob, Ward 3.
Hi, I'm Ivy. I live on Park Street in Ward 3.
I'm Trav. I'm on Hyde Street, Ward 2.
Thank you. I'm Charlie. I live in Ward 3 on Rose Street.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I live in Ward 1, and I'm presenting tonight.
Hi, I'm Elena. I live in Ward 2.
I'm Emily. I live in Ward 3.
Hi, Mila Grant, Ward 3, City Council for Central District, or as I like to now say, the historic North End. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm in Ward 3.
I'm Stephanie, also in Ward 3.
Want to say your name?
No.
Oh. Say your name?
Allie, and this is Finley, Ward 3.
Hi everyone, Joe McGee. I live on North Sharon Plain Street and I'm the city councilor for Ward 3.
I'm Barbie, Ward 3. I live on St. Paul Street downtown.
Jesse Warren. I'm visiting from the South End in Ward 5, actually.
I'm Wyatt. Don't tell anybody, but I'm from Winooski.
My name is Sarah Hernandez-Tim, and I'm the new Public Information and Community Engagement Officer with the Burlington PD. Thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Tevin. It's like Evan with a T. I'm also visiting from Ward 5, but I used to live on Intervale Ave, so coming home, I guess.
Hi, my name's Carol. I live in Ward 3.
Hi, folks. I'm Erica Faulkner. I'm on the steering committee, and I live on Decatur Street.
I'm Martha, live in Ward 3 on Blodgett Street.
I'm Tara, and I'm in Ward 2 on Spring Street.
I'm Lucy on Blodgett Street, Ward 3.
I'm Brian Pine. I live on Crowley Street in Ward 3.
I'm Jacqueline, and I live in Ward 3.
Robin, I live on Intervale Avenue, Ward 2.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I live on North Ave in Ward 3.
Jose, Ward 3.
No. I'm Travis. I live in Ward 3.
I'm Jason. I live in Ward 3 on Rose Street.
I'm Megan. I live in Ward 2.
All right, thanks everyone. That was really nice. Also, this is Sam. He's at all of our meetings, works for CEDO. All right, so next up is public forum. Who would like, well, first of all, when you speak, please say your name and your ward. Who would like to start?
All right, so as I said, I'm visiting up from Ward 5 just to make an announcement about an event that my organization is hosting at the end of May, so May 31st, 6 p.m. in City Hall, Contois Auditorium. It's a public information session on an idea called citizens assemblies. And citizens assemblies are basically a different kind of democratic process, kind of similar to what NPAs are in the sense that they are this was created and it's a different way for us to get together and talk through things, and it's done a lot for our community, and citizens assemblies are sort of in that family of ideas. So what a citizens assembly is really quickly is basically you choose a panel of people from the community by democratic lottery. So there's no election, it's all done by lottery. But you make sure that that group is representative of the demographics and the diversity of the community. So it turns out to be much more representative, actually, of all the different walks of life in the community than a typical election. And then you ask them to learn deeply about an issue, and then deliberate, have really long talks about how do we want to deal with this issue, and then offer policy recommendations to decision makers. Could be the city council, could be the state legislature, or even the federal government. So they're a very promising thing that has been organized nearly 1,000 times across the world over the past decade. For example, France just did a citizens assembly on assisted dying, how to deal with that. So it's really good for hard issues. There was one recently in California on what to do with the Petaluma Fairgrounds. The community couldn't figure out what to do with that, so they organized a citizens assembly on that. So we're hosting an event to kind of introduce this to the community and think about how we might be able to use it in Burlington. We think it's a really awesome tool. And real quick, there's going to be 2 speakers. So the first speaker is going to be the original conceiver, actually, of the NPAs in Burlington, which is Terry Bericius. So back in the 80s, he helped create these, and now he's kind of moved on to citizens assemblies as sort of a continued thinking about how to innovate democratically. So he's going to be speaking, and he's become like a globally known theorist on citizens' assemblies. It's pretty cool. And he lives in Burlington. And also we'll have another person, Alex Ranieri, who is one of the most, leads one of the organizations that is the most accomplished in terms of organizing citizens' assemblies in the US. There have been very few citizens' assemblies in the US, but Alex Ranieri has kind of been involved in most of them. So they're both going to be speaking May 31st. And this organization, by the way, is Democracy Creative. I'm here with my colleague, Tevin, who kind of is my co-conspirator there. So we're going to stick around, and we'd love to talk to anyone afterward about that. And we're going to pass out these flyers May 31st at Contois, 6 p.m., Citizens Assemblies. Thanks.
Thanks. Who would like to speak next?
Oh, I'll stand. Hi. Again, I'm Josie. Really cool to be here. I've been meaning to come to one of these NPA meetings for a while, so I'm glad to finally make it. And I'm also here with Madeline to make an announcement. We recently got some community funding to put on this art festival, and it's happening in the North End on May 20th, and it would just be really great to see you all there. We have some flyers that we'll leave on this table if anyone wants to take some or take a picture.
Yeah, thanks. So the festival is called Plex. Like Josie said, it's next Saturday, May 20th. Starts at 6 p.m. and it goes till late. And we really wanted to make a space for some weird, experimental, oddball art. We have over 70 really awesome artists, a lot of who are from Wards 2 and 3, so we're super excited to feature them. And yeah, please do take some posters. We're excited to hopefully see you next Saturday. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Is that the community funding that our NPA did or another? Great, awesome. Anyone else? All right, moving on, sort of on time. We have a candidate for the steering committee who stepped forward, Lauren Ebserall. So I might have typed it up wrong. Lauren, are you here? Yeah. The last time I saw you had sunglasses. So
yeah. Sorry,
so Lauren's just gonna share a bit about herself, and then you're in Ward 3.
Yep.
So after that, we will take a vote on if Lauren can join the steering committee, which that vote will be open to anyone who's in Ward 3, since we're 2 combined wards. So go for it.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Lauren. I live in Ward 3 on North Ave. I am a newer resident of Burlington. I am an even newer resident of the Old North End. I was previously in Ward 8, where I served on the steering committee there for about a year. So I'm very excited to be in the Old North End, and I love the dinner that we have. It's awesome. So a little bit about myself. I work for a scientific company as a product manager, so I do have a remote job, but I also own a business with my husband and our friend. If you've been to Truck Stop, now the South End Get Down, or the BTV Market, you might recognize Casa Birria. So that is our taco stand. So we are business owners in the area. But I really love community engagement, and I love coming to these NPA meetings and seeing the engagement that we have. And that's why I'd really like to get involved and do more and see how we can continue to reach all the different people in our community. I think it's really beneficial that we have 2 wards together, and I love the Old North End and seeing all the diversity in the Old North End and how it comes through in the NPA. So I'd love if you would consider me to join the steering committee.
Thanks so much. And for those who don't know what the steering committee does is we basically create the agendas for these meetings, and we think about things like outreach and how to get more people, how to organize ourselves, when to meet, all that. And so I guess to do this, can you all, anyone who's in Ward 3, just so we know the total Ward 3 people, can you raise your hand? So it's about half. And keep your hand up if you want to vote to have Lauren join the steering committee. Great. You're in. All right, and next we have a report out from Tara. Tara represents Ward 2 to the Community Development Block Grant Program. So maybe you can share kind of what that is too.
So I'm a visual kind of person, so I put some slides together just to help me organize my thoughts. So give me a second so I can share that. Hopefully we can get it up, is it? Okay. So I'm sharing my screen, but I don't, is it? If not, I'll just talk us through. I don't want to make you guys wait too long. Okay. Okay. Well, we don't have slides for tonight. Sorry about that. A little new to joining on Zoom, but I can just talk it through. So I am the Ward 2 rep for the Community Development Block Grant, and that is a federal program which is administered by HUD, which provides funding for local communities to address the roots and consequences of poverty. So each year, Burlington is allocated funds to accomplish that mission. And the city, the city of Burlington solicits applications from community organizations and city departments that can target the priorities identified in a notice of funding availability. So that's the kind of key document of any kind of grant program where they're looking to accomplish some sort of set of goals, and it outlines what the conditions of the grant are, what the metrics are, and spells out all of the eligibility criteria and the application process. So the advisory board is a group of citizens, half of which are nominated by their NPAs. So I'm one of the representatives nominated through the NPA. There are some other representatives appointed by the mayor. And I'm not sure, there might be some other type of representative there. So what we do is we go through those funding applications and we make the funding recommendations, the basic funding recommendation, and then we bring that over to the mayor, and the mayor reviews it. If he signs off, and he usually does, it goes over to the city council where they approve the yearly action plan associated with those grants. So kind of general timeline of that, the notice of funding availability is released in December. So if there's any community organizations who are interested in getting involved in that process for next year, those will be released probably in the December timeframe. The application deadline is in January. So as a committee or an advisory board, we met in March to make those recommendations. So CEDO does kind of a baseline eligibility review just to make sure that the community organizations can actually qualify and be eligible for those grants. And then as the citizens' representatives, we look at their applications and we determine what their goals are, what the missions of the organization, how well that aligns with the goals and the poverty reduction measures associated with the Community Development Block Grant Program. And we make those funding recommendations. So for this year, they're broadly broken out into two separate groups. So there's the public service applications and there are development applications. And the main difference there is public service tends to be service oriented. It could be addressing people who have needs related to being unhoused or substance abuse issues. The development tends to be infrastructure related, so buildings, either building new buildings, renovating them, reducing blight within the neighborhood. So I think we had 15 applications. 9 were public service related, and the applications requested a total of $483,000, a little over that, and all we had was $110,000 to allocate. So it's a tough call because these are all really great community organizations doing excellent work, but there's just limited funding. So tough decisions to be made. On the development side of things, they requested $800,000, and then again, we only had $256. So there's kind of different approaches when we're thinking through how to fund these organizations. One is, in the past, have they met the metrics that they've sought out to achieve? Another is, are those services duplicated within the community? Like, if they didn't get this funding, would those services just completely be gone? Because that's something that we wouldn't, obviously want to see happen. So all of this information about the process, about the applications and the action plan, it's all publicly available on CEDO's website. So if you just search CEDO Community Development Block Grant or CDBG, you should be able to find it pretty easily, and it will spell out all of the application timelines if anybody is affiliated with a local community organization who's interested in applying. It has the application so you can see what work is done. And it's really interesting because I think a lot of people, especially folks I think who are going to show up at an NPA, know a lot of the good work that these community organizations are doing, but it's just nice to see, as much as we kind of see problems out there, people are really working on solutions. So yeah, the action plan that or I guess the funding allocation that we recommended has been approved by the mayor, and on the 15th, so 4 days from now, there is a public hearing associated with that. So if you're interested in learning more about the groups that have been funded, what programs that supports, you can look at the action plan, which is available on CEDO's website. And if you're interested in participating in the public hearing where that will be reviewed, that will be May 15th. And my last pitch, so each representative has a 2-year term limit, so there's always turnover. Like I said, half of them are nominated by the NPAs. So I'll probably stick on for next year, but I'm not sure Ward 3 where that is, but I know that the NPAs at some point will be kind of looking for new volunteers. So if this was interesting for anybody, it's a really great experience. I would recommend it.
All right. So what we have next is a presentation and Q&A and kind of what we want it to be somewhat with the library. So we have 2 people from the library. You can come sit up here and we'll get you mics. Yeah. Do you guys have a presentation or just kind of talking? Great.
I'll just sit while you're talking, Jonathan.
Oh, I'm talking first?
I thought you were.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to? I'm happy to.
That's okay. I'll start.
Okay.
What I may do is have a little bit at the beginning, then hand it over to you and we'll see what time it is.
Okay, you can see we've prepared.
This is like choreography. I want to tell you, my name is Jonathan Chappell-Sokol. I'm the president of the Friends of the Fletcher Free Library. A little closer? Okay, thank you. My name is Jonathan Chappell-Sokol. I'm the president of the Friends of the Fletcher Free Library. The Friends is a private, nonprofit, all-volunteer organization dedicated to the support of the Fletcher Free Library. The Friends receive money from donations, annual appeal, grants, and of course book sales. And I hope you're all familiar with book sales that we do. If you're not, we'll get you set up because we love to sell books and we love people to buy books. Besides book sales, we sell books online. We have an eBay presence, and we also have an online website where we sell books that you can buy online and then pick up at the library at the main desk. I got words here that I'm crutching on instead of just vamping. The money that we raise, Emer can tell you more about the money that we raise, what it goes to, but it's used for adult, youth, and teen programs, exhibits, special services, and professional development. It includes the Early Literacy Outreach Program, which you may be familiar with, museum passes, And there's actually a fund to support innovation from the library staff. So if a member of the staff has a great idea of something to do, there's funding for that. And all those decisions are at the discretion of the director of the library, Mary Danko, and her absolutely amazing staff. As a volunteer organization, we're always looking for more volunteers, a little like the steering committee here. And we'd love to have people join us and help us make the library even better than it is. We work on a variety of activities, and the level of commitment can range from an occasional hour or two a month or every 6 months to working a few hours a week. We have stuff for everybody, but we really love to have people to get involved. We're currently partnering with City Market, so member workers can get credit for volunteering at sales. And we are applying to get all volunteer work to count as credit at City Market, as member worker credit. And if I can just make it, there's a small list of people that we're looking for. We would love to have 1 or 2 people join our finance committee. And our finance committee will probably meet once a month. So it might take 2 hours a month, an hour of prep and an hour to be at a meeting. And it may sound like, you know, button down with ties and stuff like that, but all we need is people who can think a little bit critically. We'll do some policy work. We'll look at the books every month, but it's not heavy-duty accounting or business. It just takes you know, a sensible mind, which I know you all have. We're looking for somebody to manage our eBay store, and that would be a couple hours a week. That would be a more serious investment of time. So if you know how to do eBay and you have a couple hours to spare or you're incredibly bored, we have some opportunities. It's not running the store by yourself because we have 2 or 3 other people involved, but it would be kind of be like the shopkeeper. We're looking for support with communication, and that might be an hour a week, something like that. And communication might be writing a newsletter. It might be just outreach to our Front Porch Forum senders. We have people in many of the neighborhoods for Front Porch Forum that we ask to send out messages every once in a while. I hope you see some of them. If you can think of something else you want to do for the Friends, we would love to talk. We just love support. One other person we're looking for is we're looking for a very part-time bookkeeper. And that would be somebody who would bill us for time work. It would not be a volunteer position. It would actually, I don't want to call it a paid position because we don't have any employees, but if you invoice us, we'll write you a check for the time you spend. And I'm kind of imagining that work to be about 10 non-stressful hours a month to do that, an hour or 2 a week. And you know, there may be somebody here who has done it for a career and doesn't want to do it as a career anymore, but might want to spend a little time doing it. Somebody can just help us enter. It's basically entry. It's bookkeeping entry. Let me know if you have any interest in these roles. And I can give Molly, if Molly's doing the minutes, I can give her all the information about links and so forth so that you can look it up in the minutes. And that's what I got.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. I realized we did kind of do it a little backward because I'm going to talk about why the library is so great and everything we do that would make you want to be a friend of the library, and I hope that it will. I do want to point out that we, as the Fletcher Free Library, is about to celebrate its 150th birthday. We haven't always been in the same building. There was an original library on Church Street that building no longer exists. But we have been in our current building in 2 different transitional times, or 2 different times, the Carnegie building and then the addition in the 80s. We've been there for over 100 years for sure. And we're ready to celebrate on July 15th from 12 to 3:30. That's a Saturday. Please come on by the library and celebrate with us 150 years of an amazing library. And I'm, of course, glad to be here to talk about the library. I could go on, and I'll try not to. But I can gush forever about the library because we do so many things you're aware of, but we also do a lot of things you're probably not aware of. The library kind of reminds me of this community center in this building, doing many different things for many different people and constantly innovating and thinking about what the community needs and changing as the community changes. The library's core mission, as you might know, is education, lifelong learning. cultural education and enjoyment for all of the members of the Burlington community and beyond. But we also have an open to all community policy, which is, or ethic and value, which also kind of reminds me of this space. So you maybe share that value as well. We don't charge anything to be in the space. We're one of the last spaces you can go and not pay to play. You can hang out there all day as long as you're following the rules. You can sit, you can work, you can read, you can hang out with your friends. You can eat at the tables outside, or you can eat on the 3rd floor on a rainy day. It's a great place to be. It's bright and airy, and there's plenty of space for all of our citizens to come and hang out. We also have the New North End branch now. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. That's just over the line in the New North End. We identified that there was a need there, that there was a gap in services for folks for whom getting to the library might be an all-day affair because it's so much further out. But that's your library too, the branch. So if you're going to Beach Bites or just biking down to the end of the bike path, you can swing by there. That's your library also. We are a place where people can come and see other people. We know we have a plague of loneliness in our society, and we are a place that combats that has built-in protective features so that we can become a more healthy and well-being aware community. And I think that's probably something that all of you think about too, and that's why you're here engaging in the NPA. We are always asking, what does our community need? And trying to get there some way or another. Currently, we have something called the Community Partners Desk, which is a great example of this way of innovating. Just about every Wednesday in the main reading room, community partners come in tables such as Age Well and the Howard Center and a veterans outreach organization. We keep adding new ones all the time, and their intent is to meet people where they're at, and we have the space for that. So sometimes we ask, what do we have that other organizations need to make them be able to do their work better for our community? For instance, during the pandemic, we were a vaccination site. We've been giving out, of course, COVID tests the whole time. We give out harm reduction bags for folks who are struggling with opioid addiction and their loved ones who care and want to have something that might be crucial in a crisis moment. We give out gun locks for folks who want to make guns in their household a little safer. So again, we are always thinking of how can we engage, what more can we do so that we can make our community healthier and to make our better future for all of us here. We're always learning, of course. We reach out to the community. I hope we do it well. I think we do it well, and ask, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? We try to guess sometimes. We heard whispers in the early pandemic that folks were having challenges with internet access. That there were certain folks who didn't get that support that they needed. Maybe they didn't have children in the home, so they weren't accessing the resources that had been identified for people with children. And so we started lending out, we got grants, we put in a program in place, and we started lending out laptops and hotspot kits. We've continued that program. It's been a very good success. And we now have, oh golly, we have 20 Chromebooks, we have 8 laptop and hotspot kits, and we have, I think, 8 functioning hotspots. So people can literally check out the internet at the library. So you can see we're always trying to figure out what next. There's no dust on us at the library. And I think we also have an ethic of care and compassion and treating everyone with dignity that they deserve and respect. That is a core ethic of the library. I don't know if I'm sure some of you spend some time at the library and have seen our amazing staff. I kind of can't rave enough about them. I think we have exceptional library staff. Some of the best librarians in the country, I'm sure. And we keep finding more of them. People are just stepping in line who have great skills and compassion and warmth who want to be librarians. We're very lucky. I'm thinking all the time about, not just me, but our librarians are thinking all the time about equity issues, equality of access to information, protecting intellectual freedom, access to a wide variety of voices. We recently conducted in 2022 a diversity audit of our collection, which is something libraries can do to understand better where the gaps are in their collection, what voices are not being represented, and to do a better job of bringing in resources, exhibits, collection materials, and other ways of representing people's voices and perspectives and histories. Recently, we had an African American children's literature exhibit where we were able to bring in the exhibit itself, but then also to craft programming around it for school children to come with their classrooms and meet authors and learn about children's literature, some beautiful books that we were able to feature and then loan out as well. So things like that. We're already planning for next year's solar eclipse. I know, we get started way in advance when something's big like that. We're gonna have a lot of programming around that, and I hope that you can engage with it and your friends and families too. Of course, science is, endlessly fascinating, so we get to experience a really visceral experience of that. I could have said that better. I do want to talk about some other health things that we do in the community. We are both a warming and a cooling shelter in our community. So on the very frigid days in the winter, we would be open, sometimes even when it was not our regular hours, we would be open for folks who don't have elsewhere to go, for whom being outside is dangerous. On those extra cold days. And then in the summer, the same thing. We are a cooling shelter, so we've been open on days such as the 4th of July, when we would normally be closed, so that folks can get out of the heat when it becomes dangerous to be outside. So we're always kind of opening ourselves up to these new ways of serving the community as we see those things that need to be done. And I hope that this has kind of painted a little bit more of a picture of what the library is now. A lot of us have the old image of the library as a place where you just check books in and out. Of course, we still do that. That's still all there. But sometimes you're just checking a book out, an ebook out at home, or an audiobook out at home, or you're using a digital resource like an investment tool, or upcoming, we just got a subscription for Candid, which is a tool that nonprofits can use to seek out grants. And we'll be running some programming to help teach people to use that tool. So a lot of these things you build all together to creating a stronger and healthier community. And I think you can see that we're deeply engaged in that work. I hope that all of you who haven't gotten a library card yet will come on down to the Fletcher Free Library on College Street, or at our new North End branch, which is kitty corner to the Hannafords in the Hannafords Plaza. And I hope I'll be seeing you there. We'll have time for questions if you would like to throw any at us. Did I introduce myself? Oh, golly. My name is Emer Pontfini, by the way. Get so excited. Oh, well, but since long before I had gray hair. So I'm a child of Burlington, and I did start going to the library in about 1980, when you could still hang out there when you were 6 without an adult. And then I finally got hired there when I was about 32, I guess. So I've been there 15 years now. I'm an oldster. It's a good thing to be, though. It's really nice to see the library over time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Who has any questions about the library? Did they cover everything?
Just accost any of us on the street. The librarian never sleeps. Oh, yes, library.
We want to know, what do you have to borrow besides books?
So many things.
Yeah.
What don't we have?
That's,
yes. Yeah. We have a theremin. We have, as you mentioned, a telescope. We have many, many, many board games, so if you want to plan a board game night with friends, we can support that. We have ties you can borrow if you need a tie to go to some kind of a job interview. We have many baking tools, like really cool, differently shaped, like holiday, like birthday and holiday and sports shaped cookie cutters. We have a pasta making machine. We have, some other technology kind of things that I'm not going to get right. We have metal detectors. Yes, we do. We do. We have a lot of fun. I probably only said about half of the things we have. Oh, one thing we have, which is really great if you have kids in your household, are STEAM kits. And these are like boxes with handles that have a whole activity inside, and that teaches kids about science and art in a sort of easy to digest way that feels like fun. And we also run STEAM nights on just about every Wednesday night during the school year, where you can come in and do those activities in a supported way with a librarian to help you kind of work through them. Not every parent wants to try to figure that stuff out themselves, so we figured out a way to help you with that too. But we have, I think, over 22 of those STEAM kits, and you can put any of these things on hold. You don't have to, you can plan ahead, put them on hold, pick them up when they're in. Yeah.
Have you, as the library, ever hosted events about buttoning up home officials?
I think we have, for sure. In partnership, the library has 3 different meeting rooms, so many organizations book those meeting rooms for their uses, and you're welcome to do so too. All events have to be free and open to the public, so it's a nice way to be able to access space if you have an organization that needs space. And in those meeting rooms, we also run programming, like in partnership with BED or other organizations that might be trying to educate folks about environmental concerns or ways that they can take steps to button up their house, have more efficient cars, that kind of thing. Yeah, we definitely have. We post on our website the events that are happening. Our calendar is on our website. We also post in 7 days. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out. We post in Front Porch Forums, so please look in all those places for the upcoming events that we're partnering and sponsoring.
Hi, my understanding is that the other libraries in the region are part of this home program where if you're a member of one, you can check out from any, and that Burlington's not part of that. Is there any plan to join that, or what's the status of that?
We actually have been taking regular steps towards that. Thank you for asking. For many years, people have asked that question. This is gonna get a little technical. We use a software system that's called an integrated library system. Libraries use those to be able to manage the relationship between materials and patrons, right? Patrons check out materials. We recently, in the pandemic, everyone thought we were a little bit silly for doing this, but we decided that was the time to move towards a consortial ILS system, which was bringing us one step closer to being able to do home card. So we joined a consortium called Vocal. Many libraries, it's a Koha consortium. Koha is an open source software, which means that we can have more of a say about how it develops. We can manipulate it more than we could a proprietary system. Open source is very much in line with the ethics and values of librarianship, so it felt like a good fit as well in that direction. But how that connects us down the road to home card is a lot of libraries in Vocal Consortium are on home card. We are in a point right now where we are working with the open source support system called Bywater to help us get to technologically to the place where we can join home card, and it won't create a lot of problems with the software, is a simple way to put it. Especially because we have a branch system here, and we're one of the only libraries that has that in the state. But there, yes, thank you, Jonathan. You can get through us just about anything that you want if you just request it up at the desk or online where it says contact us. There's a form you can fill out. And those libraries are still in you could say, friendly relationship with us and will loan us their books. It's just a wee bit slower.
We're also the leading giver of books.
We're the leading lender in the state. Of course, we're the largest public library, so we have the biggest collection. And the wonderful citizens of Burlington in the 80s decided to have a dedicated tax, percentage of tax. So we have a very robust materials collection, unlike so many other small libraries where they need to ask for help more, and we're happy to give it.
Thank you guys so much. This is great.
Actually, if I could just ask one thing. So we hear that a lot of people volunteer there, and there's a lot, and I'm just curious, in this age of computers where people do a lot of stuff at home, and in the COVID age, how is the library doing? Is it full of people every day, or is it a quiet place, or is it underutilized?
It really depends on the day. In the wintertime, we are very, very full, and there are many, when the students are here, for instance, there are many times where I look out and I see a person at every table in the library. There's always a lull in May and September. That's a natural lull. I think it has something to do with people's cycles that they're in. And of course, we did see a change in our checkouts and in usage from the pandemic. I think everybody did. We were one of the first libraries to open in Vermont during the pandemic because we were really committed to offering technology resources to folks who didn't have that at home, understanding that so many places had suddenly moved all their services online, including social services, the DMV, and we wanted to make sure that folks had equal access. It was really life or death for some people to be able to access computers. So since then, we've seen a steady build up back to our regular numbers. It's always a little hard to tell. I think libraries across the country are going to look back on these years and go, what changed? The biggest thing that I've seen so far is that folks have gotten very comfortable with streaming movies and television. That was a big change. Our DVDs, whether they were of TV or movies, always drove our circulation. That was always a very high circulating category. And that changed with the pandemic because I think people found some other resources and said, oh, this is easy, I want to do it this way. But books, we had very high circulation of books, both ebooks and physical books during the pandemic. And I think we actually excited a lot of people and introduced people to the library in the pandemic in new ways. So I don't know, we're looking towards another 150 years. Hope that doesn't sound too cheesy, but I feel like the library is one of the most important things in a community, in almost any community. You hear that from people that joining the library is one of the first things they do when they move to Burlington. I think that really tells you something about how integral they feel it is to their lives.
No, that's fine. I just want to repeat what you said about July 15th, the sesquicentennial date. July 14th was the day that Mrs. and Miss Mary Fletcher handed the check over to the city of Burlington, made the offer. It was a $20,000 that was offered, $10,000 right away, and $10,000 that would be used over time. And that was July 14th, 1873. We want to celebrate on July 15th, which is a Saturday. It's not going to be a huge party, but it's going to be a party. It will start with a parade down Church Street, and we encourage everybody to dress as their favorite character from a book or their favorite author. And then there will be cake and people doing things and music and magicians, and it should be an awful lot of fun, and it's a great way to celebrate a very important institution. It was in 1873, the city fathers were begging somebody to make some donations to start a library. It was shortly after the city actually became established as a city, but they were very grateful to Mary and Mary Fletcher to donate the money to get it started. It took a little while longer to get a building, and ultimately Andrew Carnegie gave the money for the building. In both cases, the Fletchers and Andrew Carnegie said, we will make these donations, but the city has to also participate. It's a classic example of the private-public partnership that makes a public library such a special place. So, July 15th, see y'all there.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, next up is the CityPLace team to talk about some updates.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick. I work for SD Ireland, and I'm a project manager for CityPLace, and these gentlemen can do their own introductions, but I just want to say hats off to the library. Fortunately, a couple of years ago, my hometown, which is South Burlington, where I was born and raised and still lived, we passed a bond and a library was built in South Burlington's downtown, and I frequent that. When I go pick up books to read, I'm still one of these people that likes to read the books instead of the electronics. So I just wanted to say kudos and hats off. I can imagine it's a lot of work. And I have been in the library dozens of times, and it's a great facility. So I just wanted to say hats off to you.
Happy birthday.
And happy birthday.
Happy anniversary. My name's Dave Farrington. I'm partners along with Al Senecal and Patrick's boss, Scott Ireland, and the CityPLace project. And we're here tonight. I guess we've been here before, and we've been to the NPAs, and we've been through all the zoning meetings and stuff. And just wanted to give a quick reason why we're back. We bought out our partner about almost a year ago, right? Yeah, end of May 2022. Kind of inherited this project as it was, kind of warts and all. Working with Freeman's office over the last year, we kind of dug in and really looked at what were we allowed to build, what did we want to build, what's the market telling us now. So we've made some changes along the way, nothing real drastic, but enough that we had to come back in front of the NPA and the DRB and DAB. So we'll be following up on those next few meetings, and Jesse's got the presentation that kind of walks through what the changes were and what was existing. So we'll let Jesse do that now. You want to say hi?
I'll say hi. Dave introduced me, Al Senecal, and I'm the quiet one in the bunch, so I'm going to hand it off to Jesse.
I used to be really quiet, but that changed with this job and this project, and it's been an exciting 7 years for me working on this, and it's great to see things actually happening and to work with this local team of owners. So this could almost be spot the changes because it's not a super extensive change. It does require us to go back through zoning, and I'll explain why. And I'll try and go through this really quickly, so if you have questions, save them to the end, just in case I happen to answer them in another slide. But want to save as much time for questions as we can. I think everybody knows the site. It used to be a shopping mall, and for a while it wasn't much, and now there's construction activity going on. So we are building things. What you see in this picture with the blue sky is the first of the preformed shear tower forms, and these are arriving on site. So these shear towers are pretty soon going to be 9 stories tall. So we're really getting moving. The steel is being ordered. We're looking at the drawings for the steel. We got the first drawings for the steel yesterday. So it's really happening. What's changed? Why are we here? You can kind of see a before and after of the biggest change here. So this is the south building. This is along Bank Street. So it's actually shorter than it was before, but the top 2 floors are bigger. And the biggest reason for us to be here is because the zoning doesn't count a mechanical penthouse that has HVAC equipment, heating equipment, cooling equipment, electrical equipment as an occupied floor, and they measure the height to the highest occupied floor. So what we're doing is adding more residential use. So right here, this is level 8, and now we got level 9 that's the same footprint as level 8, and this penthouse that you could see up here before that just had mechanical equipment is now also more residential space. So we're basically adding more residences. The thing that got us there was changing to an all-electric building, so we're trying to be very environmentally responsible, and we just didn't need any of that mechanical space. There's been such advances in equipment since the project was conceived that we're able to just give all that space back to residential use. We also are making the east wing of this building back here 8 feet longer, because it's going to probably be cheaper to build more square footage. It just works better structurally as we've advanced the design. So there's where we were when it was 14 stories. It's come down quite a bit. And here's where basically what you're looking at without that ghosted image is where we are now. And this is actually the current image. It's very hard to make the renderings match. The software updates to a point where the images just have to look better than they did 5 years ago. But you can see there is a penthouse. You can kind of barely see past this cornice here that was not there, that was just stopped back here before. So it's very subtle. We've done shadow studies, and it's actually a lower roof on this side as well. So it's going to be more than 400 units of housing. For every income range. Part of it is going to be owned and operated by Champlain Housing Trust, and the inclusionary requirements are basically set by the city, so it's a percentage of income of the residents of those spaces. There's 422 parking spaces. We're actually not required to build any parking now, but it's recognized as a necessity. And it's about 720,000 square feet with these changes. When we got our zoning permit for the current design, it was 705,000 square feet. So it's 15,000 more square feet, but it's actually more residential space because we have less mechanical space. So just a basic site plan. You can see St. Paul Street and Pine Street will be reconnected, and the entrance is to the parking. Another version of the site plan, this is the technical civil site plan, but one of the things we're doing is managing all the stormwater from the site to help protect Lake Champlain. We'll hold the water on the site and release it when the water department tells us they have capacity in the sewer system, so that's kind of cool. This is kind of the diagram, shows the red part that's managed by CHT, the north building, which is further down the road, and the blue south building is what's under construction now, where most of the construction is. There's actually foundation activity taking place across the entire site. This is kind of a before and after of the building section, so you can see this is a little bit taller, or not taller, just more space on these levels. So where there was a restaurant, really what the market told us is it's a tough time for restaurants just because they can't get staff. It's tough to lease restaurant space. So in order to get the project built, we needed to provide what was really needed, which is housing. This kind of just compares the zoning height. So the zoning height was 128 feet, but the actual top of the building was 143 feet. And now the actual top of the building is 138 feet above grade. So it's about 5 feet shorter. Just going through the plans really quickly, parking in the basement, retail on almost all the street-facing sides. And then as we go up the building, there's another level of parking sandwiched in between. Above this podium, we call it, the two kind of tower buildings start to emerge, and they're all basically, all housing, except the south building does have a community space that CETA will help manage. Could house things like this NPA meeting or similar events, and some office space. And then it's all residential moving up from there. And this kind of shows this, if you looked at them side by side, you'd barely notice, but this wing is 8 feet longer. The project is 340 feet by 340 feet. It's almost exactly the size of 2 football fields next to each other, including the end zones. Top level has more residential units, community room for CHT, and there's actually 2-story condo units at the top of the south building, so those higher end units are going to help finance the other units to help make the building pretty much a diverse mix of Burlington. And solar on the roof, green roofs, so we've got some plants on the roof to support pollinators and also help with stormwater. And then there's just some renderings, so you can see this penthouse that's set back from this upper roof. That's really the big change on this side. This is actually, you can see Macy's slash BHS in the corner here. This is looking down Pine Street. You'll actually drive underneath 100 Bank when the road is opened. So Pine Street will continue all the way from the south end all the way up to Pearl Street. This is the south building. Yep, the balconies are also a change. Those are something we could actually do by right because it's approved by zoning. It's part of the form-based code. So really it's the height change and the occupancy at the upper levels that is really what we're asking for permission for. But we have also added the balconies. I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed with what all the changes are. And just some of the public benefits. We are reconnecting the streets, providing some really needed housing for the city, and going for LEED Gold certification, trying to use a lot of renewable energy. We're trying to really watch the carbon footprint of the construction. So when you see it going up, it's a steel and concrete building, but the exterior walls actually have wood framing and cellulose insulation, which is a carbon sink. It's actually the lowest carbon footprint option for providing insulation. So some really cool stuff happening there. Not burning any fossil fuels, providing the community meeting space and bike parking, and yeah, we're using a locally manufactured product called Glavel that's recycled glass for insulation underneath our slabs. Only the second place in the U.S. that makes it. It comes from Essex. Here's some snippets and ready for questions.
I was going to say, if you go by the site, I'm used to hollering. If you go by the site, there's a 1-800 number on the fence and various signs. If anybody wants to know anything more about this or see plans in detail, whatever, call that number. It actually rings to my cell phone. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it. And there's an email on there that also forwards to my email. So it's info@Building CityPLace. And the 1-800 number, I don't remember it right now. You?
I do not remember it, but I just want to put a plug in for all 3 companies. We need help building, thank you. We need help building this thing. So if you or anybody you know or a relative is looking for work, they can certainly visit Omega Electric, Farrington Construction, or SD Ireland, and we'd be happy to put them to work.
Can you give us the timeline on what you're thinking about best case scenario or worst case scenario?
Yeah. Oh, it's all best case scenario. We're on the south building where we're concentrating on Bank Street right now. The plan is to get that done for the fall of 2024, and then the rest of the building going up St. Paul Street and along Cherry heading west will be the next piece that we're tackling, and then The affordable housing component that comes down Pine Street is going to be the last piece to get built, and that's kind of a function of the CHT folks. They're going for all these funding mechanisms. Way over my head how they do that, but Brian understands. But the whole project will be completed for the fall of 2025, with the roads complete and open. That's our deadline with the city, and everybody's agreed to it. We're right on schedule. I think that's about it.
Yeah, more specifically, so we're starting with the South Tower. South Tower is going to be going up, and then we're going to be heading up St. Paul, working on the North Tower. So it's all going to be happening at once. So the South Tower along Bank Street will open probably, hopefully, 6 months before CHT's building is finally done. So that's just the way the occupancy will happen around the block.
Any other questions? We can have time for one more, I'd say.
I like seeing those levels that you had there. So you said there's some parking in the basement, and then is it surface parking sort of up at a higher level, or what is in that sort of middle courtyard area? Or is it parking?
Yeah, so there's actually 3 levels of parking, none of which you'll see. What you see in the middle is the garage, but that has a green roof.
Oh, okay, cool. Can people go out on that? Is it like
portions of it, absolutely, yes.
Cool. I had a couple tiny questions. Is there any publicly accessible roof space, or is it all penthouse?
No. Thank you for asking that question. Originally, there was along on the restaurant level of the South Tower, there was a community rooftop observation area. In the ordinance, there is a couple of pages that describe why you need to have that. And there's are a couple other options. For example, you could do a rooftop terraced, or you can do street level bathrooms. So what we have been seriously thinking about, and we're going to be deciding any day now, is because there's no restaurant and there's not going to be a public elevator that would have gone up to the restaurant and the observation deck, we are thinking that the city is going to be better served if we put more street level public bathrooms in. So that's not 100%. We're going through that analysis. We may be able to do both, but the other factor is what we found out is our insurance company is not excited about public access to the rooftop. And so there's other nuances that we can't control, that our former partner didn't think all the way through of, didn't know. So I guess that's the answer.
Thanks.
Okay, just a couple quick. When did you start construction? When did all the trucks start showing up and all the activity? November? Okay, so. Yes. Okay, so one thing I've noticed, or I've been looking for, is public comment. Like if people in the general public were having a problem with all the trucks or the noise or the dust or something. But I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything on C-Click Fix or Front Porch Forum. Okay. So in your experience, how does the public feel about your construction so far? Thank you.
I visited everybody on the streets and a lot of integration with the high school at Macy's, all the tenants and the business owners on the other side of Bank Street, been over to the state office building, Outdoor Gear Exchange, met with all those people, and 100% of them are in favor of it. There were a couple times things were a little disruptive. We were driving some sheet piles for a week or two, and then we were pulling them out. There was a little bit of vibration. One vase fell off a shelf at Simon Pierce. It cost me about $400 that day. Picture fell off from the Frog Hollow and broke a piece of glass due to the vibrations. So we paid to fix that. But in general, we haven't had many complaints. The Ireland guys have been doing a great job. We have this, I don't know what the technical term is, but there's a big run of crushed stone before you get out onto the street that kind of removes any dirt, and it's a real clean site. It's a fine sand, so it's not like clunky clay and muck, so it doesn't stick to the tires. And they're really good about keeping the sidewalks clean, and so no big complaints at all. But that 1-800 number does work because my phone rings.
And I do have to mention just how committed Dave is, right? So there has been more than one occasion where the garbage truck has not been able to make a pickup because we've been in the way. And Dave has gone and filled the back of his pickup truck up with the garbage and taking care of it. So that's the level of this team's commitment.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you, yeah, sorry. All right, thanks for coming. And now we're going to move on to our city councilors and school commissioners, however you guys want to do. School commissioner, however you guys want to organize yourselves. And obviously, we're running a little behind, but I'm not sure if the state legislators will be able to join us tonight anyways.
Hi everybody, my name is Joe. I am city councilor for Ward 3, so west of LaFountain Street and south to King Street and north up to just south of Cambrian Rise essentially. So, and that's all going to change. The legislature has approved our new ward boundaries, so next March those boundaries will change. So if you have questions about which council district you will be in come March 2024, please reach out. I'd be happy to help you out with that. I have a few updates and then I'll pass it over to Milo. A lot of folks have been reaching out to me about camping in public spaces in recent weeks. It's been an ongoing issue throughout the pandemic, and unfortunately, we're going to see a pretty sharp increase in the number of folks who are unsheltered who are going to have to be sleeping outside as the state is winding down the pandemic era program that right now is sheltering around 2,800 people. The legislature is passing a budget that does not continue funding for that program except for a very small number of folks. And so we're going to see, I think, probably around 300 people in Chittenden County. And so, you know, we're going to see more tents throughout the city in the coming months. The city is working hard to support folks in the best way possible. I think we all know that our service organizations are stretched incredibly thin right now. Outreach workers are burned out, and I think, you know, we're all struggling with being faced with just how much suffering there is out there right now. And so I understand that, and I'm here to help answer questions for folks as best as I can and as best as the city's able to respond to that. So I just want folks to know that I am aware, and we're aware, and we're doing what we can within the limited resources that we have to be able to support folks right now. Another thing that I want to mention is that we are seeing a really sharp rise in overdose calls that the police department is receiving. Seeing a continued increase in reports of sharps being found in public parks, in our public spaces, on the streets, and city staff are also working to address that. If you do see sharps out in public, you can report that on ClickFix, and folks will go out and collect those. The legislature has passed a bill that is going to the governor's desk, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, that will increase funding and access for Narcan, making that more readily available. It also permanently decriminalizes buprenorphine, which is a medication that's used to treat opioid use disorder. And the bill will also authorize drug checking services. So these are machines that are able to check the drug supply for contaminants like fentanyl and xylazine, which are driving the sharp increase in overdoses right now. So that will not, it's not going to solve the overdose crisis overnight by any means, but it will give folks the information and the knowledge that they need to hopefully be able to use more safely and stay alive. I was just at a meeting last week where I learned that we're at 26 overdose fatalities in Chittenden County year to date. We had 16 this time last year. So the crisis continues to get worse, and myself and others have been advocating for overdose prevention centers. I'm hopeful that the state legislature is going to take action to authorize those statewide next legislative session. The conversation started in the House this year, but it didn't make it across the finish line, unfortunately. So I continue to push for that, and just hope that folks will join me in that advocacy, and I'd be happy to talk more with anyone if you have questions about what that would mean and what it would look like here in Burlington. And I'll just talk briefly right now. The city is in the process of talking about the fiscal year 24 budget. The Board of Finance had presentations on Monday night and last night related to the budget conversations, and we'll have the police department budget presentation on Monday. We'll have more department budget presentations next Wednesday, and more on the following Monday. So I would encourage folks to tune into those conversations. That's really where we get a first look at what departments are looking at for the year ahead. And there's a lot of helpful information in there. You get to learn a lot about what city departments have been up to in the past year, what they're looking forward to next year. And I think the top line that I'll share with you all right now is that the city's looking at about a $5 million gap between revenues and expenses in the coming fiscal year. So there's been discussion. The administration raised the possibility of raising a parks tax by 2 cents, which would equate to about a less than 5% increase on folks' property tax bills on the city side of the tax equation, which is not income sensitive. Myself and Milo and Jean have also been advocating for the city to look at what it would take for us to build income sensitivity into the city side of the property tax equation, which is something that we desperately need here, because the city does have urgent needs that we have not been able to fund for several years now. And now that the federal aid is drying up, we are looking at some serious budget challenges over the next few years. So we're going to have to figure out a way to pay for those, and we definitely want to do that without impacting folks who are already hit hard by the reappraisal and are having a hard time making ends meet. So we completely understand that, and we need to make sure that we're able to fund the essential city services that we all rely on. So encourage folks to tune into the budget conversations. If you have questions about the direction that we're heading in, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Milo or Jean. And we'll be happy to do our best to answer those or find somebody who can. And my last note before I hand it over, board and commission applications for vacancies on any of our city boards and commissions are due on May 31st. City Council Committee will then be convened to make recommendations for those appointments, and then the council will make those appointments in June. So if you are interested in volunteering to serve on a board or a commission, those applications are due on May 31st, and you can find those vacancies on the city's website. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the overdose situation because it's very indicative of the severe drug crisis that we have right now. I feel like I'm banging my head on a wall with regards to this. I don't see things need to be done on both sides. We need to have arrest of dealers. We definitely have people, as we've seen in the news recently, coming to our area, taking advantage of the serious addiction problem we have here, and then we don't have enough resources for harm reduction. So I think we're in for another really hard summer and fall. As I've discussed previously, the acting chief Murad does a chief's report once a month. Everyone should be looking at that. It has a lot of really important information on it. And the last one had a year to date for overdoses. The previous 2 years were, I think, in the low to mid 30s, and same time year to date we were at 104. So that is really such a dramatic increase. Going into community safety, if you have not been downtown recently, they are starting to do some patrols. So you will actually see officers patrolling downtown. You will actually also see some of the community service officers, the CSOs, known for short, patrolling downtown. So I hope that will make a difference. I'm not sure how much. I think it's going to be a wait and see given the level of the crisis. And then also what happens if there's not some last minute reprieve to get some of these housing funds back. It's going to be a wait and see, but it's a start, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking for. So it's definitely a positive thing. I do want to give a shout out to the police officers have been dealing with a lot. They're first on the line, but also there are the fire department and the EMS teams. EMS funds ran out early this year. That's a major thing because they're responding to these overdoses, and you can't always bill for some of these responses if someone's not transported. And they may not want to go to the hospital, and you can't force them to do that. I also want to give a shout out to the Parks Department. A lot of people don't realize how much work that they're doing. They're dealing with a lot of health and public safety issues that they may not be equipped for, but they are doing it. Last year they dealt with a lot of issues around the unhoused population, and then a lot of issues around cleaning up areas where use was occurring. And so I anticipate that they are going to continue to have to deal with that. Park rangers, we would like to be doing other things, but they spend a lot of time as well dealing with the unhoused population. So please keep in mind all these other people that are working really hard in our city. And when you see a parks person, please be nice to them. I'm surprised that people are very rude to them. So we have, although I couldn't remember what the acronym was, our CAHOOTS model that we've been talking about for a very long time is now going to be called CARES. Do you remember what CARES stands for? Because the city's website is not mobile optimized. And I couldn't get to it. But I will say that CARES is a significantly better name than Merck. So, yes, when we have voices in the room, we can make positive improvements. And let's not use something that's short for mercenary, right? Let's use something that says what we're trying to do. There was a vote on a senior level supervisory civilian position. There was some disagreement about the position. I think For a lot of us, it would be preferred that it not be in the police department, that the CAHOOTS model the CARES team not be in the police department. But right now, that's where it's going to go. I voted for this position because I think, number one, it's important that civilian employees be supervised by, have a civilian supervisor who understands their work, understands the root causes of what we're trying to address. Long term, I hope we can maybe come back around with the Howard Center. But right now, as long as something's moving forward, I guess is the bottom line. I want to give a shout out to the work that the REIB team is doing. Juneteenth will be Saturday, June 17th, the celebration, citywide celebration, which is going to concentrate in downtown Burlington, in and around City Hall Park. Parts of Main Street will be blocked off for activities for the kids. There's going to be a great performance inside of the Flynn Theater later that afternoon. Can I say what it is? I don't know if the papers, all right. Arrested Development. No. Right. Yes. 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 They have still been doing their thing, and they're still doing great music, so this is a treat, as well as other performers from our area. So it's not going to be in other areas all over the city. It's going to be kept in the downtown area, and there are going to be shuttle buses bringing people from different areas back and forth from where they live in other parts of the city to the downtown area throughout the day. So I think this is going to be a really beautiful event. I wanted to mention that for oversight and accountability, the Joint Committee for Ordinance and Charter Change had their first meeting May 4th. The next one is May 23rd. Is that correct? Looking for public input, although we've had a lot of that, still looking for more, and I think it's important for people to speak to that committee and speak to other members of the city council who haven't been actively engaged in oversight and accountability, because now it's the city council's turn, and I have a lot of respect for them, but I'm not sure they all get it. So I think it's not just me, no. I think that it needs to come from the public. So I know some people are kind of exhausted, but it's going to be really important that people maintain reaching out to this different members of the city council and being vocal about what they would like to see. And then the last time I was here, someone asked about a project that was going to be happening in Roosevelt Park, and I really hadn't heard anything about it. Without going into a long story about where the money's coming from or why it was chosen, there is going to be a pavilion built in Roosevelt Park. I think this is fantastic. It's going to give a place in the park for people to meet, have gatherings, have shelter from the sun or sudden bad weather, something like that. There is a rendering, and that rendering is not any type of final rendering. It's simply saying this is what the project is and this is what the funds have been allotted. I was very, very clear that community input and conversation and communication is very important to us, so they know that. We don't want to have a Dewey Park Part 2. But I do support the project and look forward for future communications on that. Anything else? No.
Here, let me get a couple of beats in here. All right, and then I'll let Jeannie or whoever go. Let me echo the importance of the budget conversation and the need for folks to weigh in, particularly about alternatives to the property tax. I don't know about other folks, but the stresses on homeowners from reappraisal and the continued need to fund things, as you're just hearing, requires that we raise sufficient revenues. And unless the administration hears strongly from people the need for property tax reform and alternatives to the property tax that are going to be income sensitized, all you're going to get is either cuts, austerity, or tax increase proposals. So I can't tell you how important that conversation is and how important folks' participation is. The couple of other things, and then I'll stop. Barbie Alsop and myself are on the scoping committee for Battery Street, and the city is looking at totally redoing Battery Street, sidewalks, street, bike paths, the park area, and this goes, not just in the downtown, but right up into Battery Park and into Murray and Sherman and Peru Street and that whole area. It's vitally important, and the connections with the waterfront. So folks need to be thinking about it, and we will provide as much of an opportunity for public input as possible. So if you've got ideas, if you have had problems dealing with Battery Street, maybe you've tried to bike down there. I won't bike down there. I figure out every way possible to not have to bike to get down there, but it really makes things inconvenient for travel. Get a hold of either Barbie or myself to talk about that. The NPA asked the city council to name the Tony Reddington to name the roundabout on Shelburne Street, the Tony Reddington roundabout. And we've gotten a bunch of pushback despite the NPA's, not just wards 2 and 3, but also 5, to name it. We've gotten some pushback. We are going to, the Transportation, Utilities, and Energy Committee, TUC, passed unanimously a motion to have a plaque in honor of Tony put there. That's a start. There are some technical issues related to quote unquote naming it that bureaucrats are putting in our face. So we will, in my mind, do best by getting what we can now and keep working on it. So just know that that is not lost, and that we at least will bring forward to the council something for a plaque in honor of Tony and his important safety agenda. And the last thing is that it's no secret that North Winooski Avenue and the bike lanes and the removal of parking continues to be an area that we've got to pay attention to for purposes of transit equity. The people who are most affected are folks who have the least money and the least opportunities to get where they need to go in an affordable way, and mass transit is insufficient. So we are continuing to look at the impact of the changes and continuing to evaluate that and continuing to press for city monies to address that. So again, and I'm on that committee, and let me just end by echoing what Milo said about the police oversight. We still have the opportunity to do substantial oversight of our police department. Our wards voted in favor of Proposition 7, and fairly significantly, but obviously not enough numbers. So the joint committee, of which I am one of the co-chairs, is the place where voices need to be heard and can be heard. So look for opportunities to engage throughout the summer, starting on the 23rd, but the next meeting after that will be the 30th, and there will be many opportunities within those meetings to for public comment. And thank you very much.
Hi. Oh my God, that's scary. Sorry. I'm Jeannie Waltz. I am the school board commissioner representing all of the Old North End. That would mean both the Integrated Arts Academy and the Sustainability Academy. The Old North End has 2 other representatives, one for Integrated Arts, one for Sustainability, and we are 3 representing the Old North End out of 12 on the school board. but I also wear a different hat. If you haven't already heard of it, it's called The Ramble. Jason's our sound guy. He's pretty much my everything, actually. And it is happening this year. It's July 29th. Our elevator speeches. It is the celebration of creativity and community for and by the Old North End. It's happening. And I'm sort of, I'm working with a new person transferring, what do you call that? Like we're transitioning. She's really interested in taking on the leadership role, and I'm really interested in her taking that on. But it's super exciting. Anyway, so back to the school board. The biggest update is we hired a new principal for downtown BHS. Obviously going to start July 1st. And her name is Deb Dupree. I think I'm saying it, or Beaupree. She's coming from an associate principal position at Hanover High School. She was, it was a overwhelming response from the hiring committee, as well as the majority of feedback from surveys, both students, staff, and community members. So overwhelming support. We're really psyched that somebody wants to tackle this community. It's, can you imagine? I want to be a high school principal. That's number one, right? And then on top of that, let's do it in an old mall and work on creating this new building, which I'm going to give a short update about. Anyway, it's a big job, and she seems really psyched. And part of what spoke to me as far as, I'm really glad that she's into this. She's got, her daughter is going to UVM, so just the idea of like, we're actually gaining a community member, somebody who wants to put down roots in our town, not just in our city, not just, I'm looking for a position that might lead to a different position, which is unfortunately very common in academia. And in addition to a new principal at BHS, there's also going to be a new school counselor. So the guidance department has been really looking for this position to be filled for, I think, over a year. It could be as close to 2. So the fact that we've got somebody that is, let me see exactly, her name is Cass Candra. K-A-S, capital C-A-N-D-R-A is her first name. Last name, Doree, from Memphis, Tennessee. So that is 2 huge positions that obviously are integral to anything happening there. So back to old school BHS. You said Arrested Development, so now I have to say old school. Demo and enviro, the demolition has begun. And when I say demolition, it's mostly about interior abatement of asbestos, actually. And the focus is on A building, which is the one that's most prominent, and is also the one that had the gym in it. So figuring out what's going to happen with all the physical education that has been happening there up until this point, or at least on the grounds. The grounds are, at some point, also not going to be accessible. So building partnerships and signing leases and renting out spaces and figuring that out is in the works. If not, I would say it's probably about 75% decided, but there's still more stuff to come. But the main things they're doing right now are figuring out all the erosion control. You know, once you start digging off the topsoil, it's still gonna rain. You have to figure out how to make sure all that stuff isn't gonna go into the lake as you're doing the work. Putting up a fence. I don't know if anybody went down to North Beach. The parking was very creative, and I thought to myself, there's a fundraiser for you. Let's charge for parking while that parking lot was accessible, but no. The fence is going up, and hopefully by the end of June, A building will be no more. So that's a big shift. Probably well, I'm excited about it, but I'm super serious about it. The district is preparing for a full rollout of what we call, or what they are calling, the restorative code of conduct. And this would be implemented during the next school year, 23-24. It's still being revised, the actual wording or practices or procedures of how it's going to be is still being worded, but it should be done by the end of June. And plans for implementation will also be firmed up, obviously, shortly thereafter. But I just want to read to you what this actually means. The BSD Restorative Code of Conduct began in 2017 with multiple district staff members, students, and union leaders picking up the work during 22-23 school year to create a comprehensive community guide that applies to all students, staff, employees, and parents and family members. So this is different. It used to mostly be about if a staff member had a problem with a kid, they could opt into a restorative process. Everything about restorative process is about avoiding a punitive approach. But now this has in place a process for families and for kids to ask for a process in which, or to first of all be able to have harm acknowledged, and then to be able to opt into this hopefully restorative, I don't want to say the word process again, experience. I should probably say healing experience. The Code of Conduct is purposely designed to not solely apply to students, but instead to all community members, as we believe in BSD, or I should say at BSD, that we all must be accountable for our actions and behavior. And does anybody want me to talk about the goals of it? I could go on, but I don't know how excited everybody is at 8-something at night. I am available. My email is jwaltz, W-A-L-T-Z, as my mother used to say, like the dance, at bsdvt.org.
Thank you. So our reps are busy wrapping up the session in Montpelier, so hopefully next time we'll get to have them for a while. But this ends our Words 2 and 3 NPA meeting. Thank you all for coming.